Welcome to Hoops and Headspace, the podcast where mental health and sports intersect. I'm your host, Jada Rich.
I'm your co-host, Tae.
For sure. So, we always say we have special guests on here, but like this time we're really not kidding. I was nervous on the way up here about this one because I was excited.
Okay.
You know
So
what I'm saying?
Good nerves.
Yeah, good
Okay,
nerves. Yeah.
shucks.
But we got the Rico McDonald, and when I say the, I mean that because athletically, he's that guy. And as a coach, he's definitely that guy. But we're going to give Coach Rico McDonald an opportunity to talk his talk, let y'all know who he is, and all of that good stuff.
First off, I want to thank y'all for allowing me to sit with y'all and jump in y'all space for a little while. Rico McDonald, head football coach at Ripley High School. Just excited about this opportunity, and like I said, just to jump in y'all space and y'all zone, and just trying to drop a few nuggets if I can.
He said nuggets. We call them isms, but for sure.
Okay.
So Rico, we all know you played at Ripley, in which we'll get into that. You played at Delta State, and we'll get into that. But how did football shape you into the man you are now?
I come from a family of football players. My mom's side of the family were football players, and then my dad was a great football player. Was drafted the 8th pick in the 1983 draft by the Philadelphia Eagles. Played 10 seasons in the NFL. So I was born in a football family. So it was just kind of something that I guess they say you was born into, and it was just something that I've always loved to do. And as I grew up, football was something that I kind of gravitated to. I played baseball, basketball too, but football was the sport that that I kind of gravitated to and was able to do some good things and kind of make a career out of it. So
For sure. And so, before we get into Delta State, let's talk about when you played here at Ripley. And you said, like you said, you come from a football family. Mentally, or when you played, did you feel like any pressure because of that? Or like, do you feel like because you had that football background, it made it easier? How was that when you played?
I think just having that football in you, that background, kind of made it, I ain't gonna say easier, but it made it more natural. Never had any pressure from parents to play football or to play any sport. Like I said, it was just something that was in me, and that was just kind of how it was, man. I can remember being a youngster, and I didn't have to have anybody to play with. I'd go out in the yard and I'd get a ball and I'd play a whole football game by myself. I'd run, I'd tackle myself. I'd tackle other people, but it really wasn't other people. But I just had I could say that I had a really, really good imagination, I guess you could say, as a kid. I could remember walking from down the street back to my grandmother's house, and it would be dark, and I would leave my cousin's house, and I would run all the way to my grandmother's house. But all in my head, I'm saying, McDonald gets the ball. He's headed around the right side. He's at the 15, the 20, the 30. And I would do that. Like, I just had a real big imagination as a kid, and any way that I could come up with something to use to kind of help me, I would run through the woods, dodging trees, just all those kind of things, not knowing at that age that stuff was going to be stuff that I was going to have to use later on to be a good football player. But it was just stuff that I did, and I'm going to say that it helped me. You know what I'm saying? As I got older, it kind of helped me as I went to my football career.
Me personally, I feel like kids don't have imagination. Or they so programmed and robotic.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I think that also too, like you said, you didn't know what that was, and that's like visualization, which is a technique, and that's also kind of a manifestation thing.
Right.
But as far as the visualization and manifestation, when you got into those like pressure moments when you were in high school, because you was that guy. So when you got into those moments though, do you feel like that visualization and manifestation help calm you and stuff mentally?
I
And
think
and can you speak on how important that is for kids?
I think so. Because a lot of the times we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And sometimes we do let those moments get the best of us. But I think preparation is the key to handle those moments when you get in those moments. If you prepared, it don't matter how big the moment is. If you prepared yourself mentally, physically, don't matter how big the moment is, those things are just gonna happen. And I think a lot of that starts in practice. If you practice the way that you're supposed to practice, I say it all the time, you know, you're gonna play how you practice. If you practice full speed, you're gonna play full speed because it's just natural, because that's how your body works. Our bodies, we train our bodies to do those things when we get in those pressure situations. If our body's not used to handling the magnitude of the moment, the pressure of the moment, if our bodies and our brains are not used to handling those moments, it is going to be tough on people in certain situations. But when you program your mind and program your body to handle those situations, it just comes natural to you, and it just comes out. You just play, and things just happen. I don't think it's nothing out of the ordinary, but I mean, preparation is the key. And just overall, I just think you just got to prepare your mind and your body for those situations.
And so, it gets a little more sports gets a little more stressful when you get to college.
Right.
It's not just that backyard game. It's more attached to it. It's more of a business. So during your time at Delta State, what were some mental challenges you faced as a college athlete that people don't often talk about?
The first thing that I dealt with being a freshman, um, when I was in high school, I got the ball all the time. I would block and pass protections and things of that nature. But when I got to Delta State as a freshman, we had an All-American running back that was there. And I was a little bigger than him, so he was an All-American. He won the Connolly Trophy for the Mississippi, the best college football player in the state of Mississippi. And me coming in as a freshman, I had to change roles from what I had in high school. And I was moved to a fullback position where I had to do a lot more blocking than I did in high school. And the first few days was pretty rough. Just the banging and all of that stuff. And it did mentally push me to a level that I had never been. But I remember making a phone call. I was talking to my grandmother on the phone, and I was just kind of telling her how it was and how it was mentally and how tough it was on me. And she was like, "You signed up for it. You know, we don't do that. You know what I'm saying? We don't complain. You signed up for it. You know, pray about it, keep it moving." But the mental part of it, first being away from home the first time you ever been away from home. But I've always had that family support. Um, and it's good to have those, people that you can lean on when you get in tough situations mentally, physically, emotionally, being away from home. And I can remember just like it was yesterday, and I had that phone conversation with my grandmother, and I took a whole different perspective on everything, and I understood that, you're not gonna be the best guy, you know, like, in high school, everything came a little easy to you. This is another level. So you got to go up another level. And it didn't take me long to figure out that college football was a lot different because it's such a grind. You know, and then in the Delta, man, that heat it's terrible, man. And being out there, we did 3 days. We would come in at 5:36 in the morning, get a practice in, come back before lunch, get another practice in, come back in the evening, and it was tough. It was mentally, but that's what it was designed to do, and it prepared us mentally, physically. But if I had to say that it was something mental that, that challenge that I had, that was just adjusting my mind and my body being so sore and hurt every day, and the next day you right back with the same thing. But just having that support, from family and loved ones, it'll help you get through, through tough times. Not just dealing with sports, but in life in general. So, that was a test that I had, from the beginning, but I made it through it though.
And so looking back, what are some lessons from your playing days that still guide you as far as leading young men today?
Just hard work, character. That's my biggest thing now, being a head coach. Character is the biggest thing. Um, you see a lot. Um, you can see a lot about a person when things are tough, when things are going bad. Everybody's great when things are going good. But when things go bad, when adversity hits, your character is the biggest thing that's going to get you through tough times. Um, and that's the biggest thing that I preach nowadays is just character through tough times. And football is just like life. You got to depend on somebody. You got to be there for somebody. All those things. It gets tough. Life gets tough. Every day is not gonna be, you know, uh, sunshine. I always say, I quote 50 Cent a lot of times. I catch myself in one of his songs. He said, "Sunny days wouldn't be special if it wasn't for rain. Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain." And that's life. And you just got to keep getting up every day, and you got to keep going to work. You just got to keep swinging at it. Um, but that's the biggest thing is just it builds your character and it builds you into the person that you're gonna be. When you get kids, when you get a wife, when you get a family, football does that to you. For you, and it just builds your character, and that's one of my biggest things. Is just how football builds you as a young man.
Get the hill.
Hey,
Okay.
you
I
yeah.
was just making sure.
Hey, yeah.
Okay. We good.
Tucked in the pocket.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's they.
Hey, true.
I don't even. Hey, what 50 Cent song is that?
Yeah.
I think it's Mini Man.
I'm gonna have to run it, bro, because I don't even remember that
Yeah,
in there. But
Go back, look.
yeah,
But that's a true
Yeah,
that's a true
Yeah,
statement.
for
Like
sure.
I mean, it's coming in a rap song, but a lot of them's got little
Yeah.
bars in there that make you say, and that,
Yeah.
I mean that's life. Like we wouldn't enjoy the sunny days if it didn't rain. We wouldn't enjoy the rainy days, if it was sunny all the time. Like and cold weather, hot weather, all those things. But that's life though. And life's gonna be up and down, but you gotta push through it.
Yeah. And so, you spent years, as an assistant coach here. And what did that journey teach you about like patience, humility, leadership?
I'm a big faith guy. I'm a spiritual guy. And I know that things happen the way they happen for a reason. I was here 15, 16 years as an assistant. Opportunity came up for me to do something different. And I took another opportunity, and I left for 3, 4 years. But not knowing at that time that opportunity was just building me or helping me, preparing me for what God had for me. Coming back. Like I said, I went to Lafayette for a year, different environment, different type of kid, different culture. Went to Amory for a year, same thing, different environment, different kids, different culture. And then I came to New Albany for a year, the same thing. And all those three combined with the years that I spent here, it was just God just preparing me for what he had for me. And, I was able to come back here and then, God blessed me to be able to get the head coaching job here and just being able to take what I learned here from the great coaches that I worked under here. I went to Lafayette, Coach Michael Fair. state championship guy. He's at Grenada now, won a state championship last year. Went to Amory, Coach Dampier. We played for a North Half championship in Amory the year I was there. And then coming back to New Albany, which is Ripley's rival, but just being on the other side of that and seeing the different sides of that and just all of that just kind of came together. And I just think it was just, life's a journey, and it was just part of my journey. And, I needed to see some things, be a part of some things that I hadn't been a part of throughout my coaching career. And that was just God's way of preparing me for what, for where I am now and the situation that I'm in now, being the head coach here.
Which stop was your most challenging mentally in your perspective?
I'm going to say probably the Lafayette. Not challenging mentally, but that was the first time that having a family, I didn't move. I stayed here. So I was driving every day, and just being on that road every day, it was different. It was different for me. Being in the school all day, practicing till 6:30, 7, meeting after practice, getting back on the road, coming home, Friday nights playing in Columbus or West Point, coming back from those long trips, meeting after the game, getting back on the road 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, coming home. It was different, but I had a lot of time to myself, riding up and down the road every day. I had a lot of time to myself, and I think that helps you grow mentally, emotionally. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about other people, but you just have that time to just kind of get yourself together on the way in the mornings, and in the evening to just kind of get yourself down as you come home, because as a coach, you don't want to take your job home. You know what I'm saying? And so when I'm done in the evening, I work when I get home. I work on football, but it's late at night when everybody's in the bed, and I just try to, decompress, I guess you can say, before I get home. And those trips the last few years into those other schools kind of helped me, mentally, as far as having to separate football, family, all those different things. So it was a good deal for me, and I needed it at that point in my life just to help me grow as a football coach.
I enjoyed the long card.
Yeah.
It's therapy for me.
Oh yeah,
I like
it
a good
is.
morning
It is.
more than night, though. That's just me.
Yeah.
Like a good early morning.
Good Steve Harvey morning show in
Yeah,
the
you
morning.
know what I mean?
Get
Get
on
that
the way to
strawberry
work.
letter.
Get the strawberry letter. You get the get my boy nephew Tommy.
Yep.
And it's just, you get some real with the strawberry letter, and then you get a little laughter before you get to work with the
With the prank call.
prank calls, and and it's good. It's good for you, man. And I think it really helped me mentally, as far as just finding, just knowing yourself. A lot of times we don't take time to. I know as black men we don't. One thing we don't talk a lot about stuff that we got going on mentally. We don't, as black men, we just don't. But to just have those opportunities to just kind of, like you said, ride by yourself and just, it's kind of therapeutic, man. So
Yeah. And I say personally, when his worst for me, when I seen him in New Albany, I said, "Oh Lord,
It's something to your spirit.
the colors didn't even look right, nothing." I said, "Hey, you gotta get him out of there."
yeah.
I was campaigning in, "Hey, get him, please."
But I made like one big circle. I
Yeah.
went to Oxford, and then I went on around to Amory, and then I came on back to New Albany, and then I'm back here at Ripley.
Yeah.
Like you can't make that stuff up, man.
Yeah.
Like if you just look at it, on a map, you know what I'm saying? Like if we go to Oxford, then come around, go to Amory, New Albany, you just can't make that stuff up. So
Literally full circle.
Yeah.
And then this isn't on here, but I do want to ask, how do you feel mentally and emotionally about the timing and the fact that not only is your opportunity right now, but you get the opportunity to also coach your own son.
Just like I said earlier, like it's just God's way of doing things. When I went to Lafayette, he was a middle school. But every Friday he would go with me, to Lafayette. When I went to Amory, every Friday he was at the games on the sideline with me. When I went to New Albany, he came to New Albany with me. So he was there with me every day at New Albany. But ever since he was a kid, even, when you played, he was a baby, but he was always sitting on that basketball floor in between my legs or in a chair next to me. Even when I worked with Coach Kirk, he was right there. Like he's always been there. But just to be in that situation, to get the head coaching job here, and to have him, coming in, and it's just been special. You can't write this kind of stuff. You can't, you know what I'm saying? It's just God's way of doing things, man. I'm thankful. I'm thankful.
And so, when you got the head coaching job, though, what were some pressures you felt mentally? And I'm not talking like wins and losses, but just some pressures you felt mentally.
Um, I ain't gonna say pressure, but just Ripley football is something that's been in my life all my life. And if it's anybody that's for Ripley football, that wants to see Ripley football succeed each and every year, is me. Even when I was gone, soon as we come off the field on Friday nights, I'm trying to find out what the Ripley score is. And just being able to be in this position, I'm not gonna say that it's pressure, but I just want to, do it so bad because Ripley is so close to me. Not for me, um, but just for Ripley in general, because like I said, it's just been a part of my life all my life, and I want to see Ripley football back to what Ripley football used to be. And that's the goal. And I'm on everything I can, work as hard as I can, along with these guys that's with me, to try to get that to where it needs to be and where everybody expects it to be. Um, I don't think it's pressure. Like I said earlier when we talked about, pressure and moments and things like that, is preparation. All the years, all the different experiences at other places, all those things prepared me for this moment. And I don't, like I said, I don't treat it as pressure. Like I said, because preparation handles pressure. And I think that, just all those things prepared me for this. And I'm just excited about it and ready to go.
I like that. And I don't know, when you said it, it hyped me up because, like, I remember when we said it, like, what we had, like that little thing that made that noise for the touchdowns over there by the
Yeah.
concession stand and all that. You got to scooch by the bushes to get, you know what I'm saying, to the concession
Yeah.
stand and stuff, bro. And I'm rooting for it, Rico. I really do
I appreciate it.
want that to happen.
We're gonna get it together. We're
You
gonna
gonna
get
get
it
there.
right.
I hate your season went the way it went this year with all the injuries and
Yeah.
everything. But you got a
But
bright
even
future.
with that, though, you can still see, like, that potential. So I'm excited about
I
it.
'Cause
appreciate it.
You spoke
Yeah.
on character. Even with everything y'all dealt with, y'all didn't give up. Y'all
Right,
continued to
right,
show
Yeah.
up, play
right.
hard every
Yeah.
night. So
And that speaks volumes to you as a coach because, you know what I'm saying, they're an extension of you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And for them to stand tall and show character, like he said, that speaks that you actually teach what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. We got a deal every week. I call it Tuesday Talks. And I just try to teach them life lessons, choices that you make, just kind of example. I think the greatest gift that God gives us is the power to choose. Every day that we get up, we get to choose whether I want to do this or whether I want to do that, good or bad, whatever. And a lot of times those choices, dictate, where we are, where we going, all those different things. But that was just an example. Like every Tuesday, we do a little deal called Tuesday Talks, and we just try to teach them life lessons, to just something that they can take with them, whenever football's over with. Hopefully something that we talked about throughout a season. They can apply it to their lives and be able to, to move forward when they get out of school and become, husbands, fathers, different things like that. So we try to, you know, try to do it the right way, and we're gonna keep swinging at it.
And so when it comes to like mental struggles some of your players may have, how do you recognize those and how do you support them?
The biggest thing I think as a coach, you got to be a person first. Um, sometimes people they get positions and they forget about being a person. They want to be that title, I guess you can say. Um, but relationships are real big with me. And when you get to know all your kids, you have a personal relationship with all your kids. You can just tell when stuff's not right with them. Um, and then the way I kind of handle it is if I see a kid's energy's off, then he normally, and I know it's gonna be days where, but you can tell when something's really going on. You know what I'm saying with a kid, and I just try to grab them, put my arm around them, and just remind them, like, I tell them all the time, if you need me, no matter when, call me, whatever time. I'm always up. If something goes on, call me, and they do. But when they have stuff going on, sometimes they don't want to talk about it, and I think a lot of that is because sometimes as parents we don't teach our kids to talk and let you know what's going on with them, and I guess sometimes it's not the macho thing to do or whatever, but you can see when a kid's kind of not themselves, and I grab them, put my arm around them, and just a lot of times you can't dig, you can't pry, and I just kind of let them know, hey man, I'm here if you need me, man, holler at me. You know what I'm saying? Come see me. You good? And you can tell, oh, I'm good, coach, but I can tell, oh, something wrong with you, man. Let me know what's going on. And if you need me, man, holler at me, come holler at me. I'll be, in my classroom at the second block, whatever, come by and see me. And a lot of times they don't want the other kids to see them, at their vulnerable states and stuff like that. So, and that's just where you gotta find time to be like, where it won't look so obvious that you're talking to them, because a lot of them don't want everybody to know what's going on with them, but I just try to be there for them. I try to let them know every day that, I'm here for y'all. If y'all need me every day when we get done, if y'all need us, holler at us. If you need me, call me. If you need, any of these coaches, we're available. I think relationships and just being available are real important when you got kids that's dealing with certain issues. I say all the time, man, from 3 in the evening to 7 in the morning, you don't know what a lot of these kids go through. So when you deal with them every day, you gotta take that in consideration. Like, everybody don't come home in the evening times and sit down at the table with mama, daddy, brother, and sister and have supper every evening. Everybody don't do that. Um, some of them, man, they fending and scrapping and clawing on for themselves, and you got to take that in consideration when you dealing with kids, and you got a lot of different kids that have a lot of different issues. So you just got to be there for them, and just let them know that you're there. Being available whenever they need you, and just having that relationship that you can go to them and they trust you enough to let you in on them. So
Um, and so how do you teach them to handle failure, stuff like bad games? I know as a coach you'll have situations where you gotta tell a guy you're not playing or your minutes are reduced or, stuff like that. How do you navigate that?
I think just like I talked about earlier, failure is a part of life. Um, we all gonna fail at some point, at something. You just gotta have the mindset of, when you get knocked down, you just gotta get back up. Um, Next play, just using football, if we fail at a play, we can't dwell on that failure. We got to keep moving forward. And it's the same way with life. If something bad happens, you can't waddle in it. You got to keep it moving. You got to get up. You got to have using football, a snap, clear mentality. It's next snap. I got to clear my mind, and it's the next snap. And it's the same way in life. If we fail, you can't. Sometimes it hurts when you fail, but you gotta be able to get up, and you gotta be able to keep moving forward, and just put one foot in front of the other. You gotta crawl before you walk. You gotta walk before you run. So that's just the way God tended to. It's just natural. We're gonna have failures, but we just gotta be able to put it behind us and keep moving forward.
Um, and so what role do you think parents play in supporting and or hurting an athlete's mental health? And what do you wish they understood more?
Um, Supporting is real important. I talked about it earlier. When I was in high school, my family was always there. When I went to college, every game they was there. Um, and it does a kid a whole lot. Like I could just remember when I was in college, I would look up in the stands, and one section of the stadium is all of my family, and they all got T-shirts with my name, my number, and it does a lot for you to see that support because some guys don't have anybody that ever come to a game. But just always being there for them. Um, making sure that they got what they need. And just making sure that you support them in everything that they do. The hurting part of it, to answer the second part of that question, is just pressure. I think putting pressure on kids, just kind of let them, this is my take on that. Just let them grow, let them go through these experiences and let them learn from these experiences. A lot of times parents try to rush the process instead of letting kids go through, like we talked about, failure, letting them go through failure, teaching them to be strong enough to get through those failures and to keep going and keep working. Um, and I think a lot of times that hurts kids, because they feel the pressure from parents to be this certain ball player, to be able to perform at this certain level. Um, and my thing is just let's let it happen. Just be there for them when they go through rough patches. Um, but just let it happen. Just kind of let life happen and let even the sports part of it just kind of let it happen for them. If you've instilled the right things in them, they gonna understand that it takes hard work, it takes dedication, it takes all of those things to be successful. So whenever they go through a little rough patch, if you've instilled that in them, they gonna get through it. But just putting the pressure, that I think that hurts them a lot of times when parents put pressure on them to be this or that or whatever, instead of just kind of, like I said, once if you raised them and put that in them, trust that process that it's gonna play out the way that it should play out. And the last part of the question, I didn't get the last part.
Oh, the last part of it was, and what's one thing you wish more parents understood?
Just that part of it,
Yeah.
letting them be young men, young ladies, um, and letting them learn that things are not going to always go the way that they think they are. I think that's the biggest thing that we deal with now as coaches is expectation versus reality. Um, you know, Things are not going to always be this way. You're not going to always be the best kid on the team. You're not going to always be this, and this. it's levels to this, and you know, and being able to handle those things when things don't go the way that you think they should. I think now when things don't go well, it's just easy to say I'm gone, or I'm gonna go to this other place, or you know, I'm gonna hit the transfer portal. Um, Instead of sometimes it's probably best for you to just stick it out and just to see, you know, what all the work that you've done to see. I think it means a lot more when you have those challenges and then you end up succeeding in the end. I think it makes it a lot more enjoyable for you. But I just now it's different. It's different nowadays. If things don't go my way, you know, I'm off to you know, greener pastures, but the grass is not always greener on the other side. You know, you hear people say that, you know, older people say that a lot, you know, when you're growing up and you never really understand it. But when you go through a few things in life and you see that it's not always better the other way, you know. So, you know, just making sure we support them as parents and just kind of let them go through some things and work their way through it.
And so, and this isn't on here, but I do want to ask this. So, how do you balance that mentally, emotionally? You're the head football coach. Your son also plays. Like you said, you have to go home. You have to turn it off. But we both know as coaches, even after I turn it off for that moment, like you said, now I'm up in the wee hours because I still have to
Right.
prepare for this and the third. How do you mentally balance all of those roles?
One thing, one thing I've always um been with him um is I've never pushed sports on him. Um, I've never said you got to play this or you got to play that or you got to do this. You got. I've never done that, but he's been around it all his life, and he understands um that you know his dad had a little success as a football player. His granddad had a lot of success as a football player. He's had cousins and friends and family members that's had. So he understands the hard work and all that stuff that goes into it. So I don't push him to go do this and go do that. Um, if he wants to get some extra work in, he comes to me and say, I want to go get extra work in. Then I'll go with him. But I think a lot of times we forget that there's still 13, 14, 15-year olds. I don't ever want mine to not be a kid. I still want him to enjoy being a young man, being a teenager. Um, if that's going out, you know, hanging out with your buddies, going to the movies, you know, things like that. Like I want him to do all that. I want him to be a kid, you know, first. Because the sports part of it's not gonna always be there. You know, at some point you're gonna put them cleats up. Um, and that's just the way I've always been. When I'm here, um, you know, I'm the coach, he's a player. When I'm home, I'm the dad, he's the son. I don't treat him any different here than I do anybody else down there. He's just like one of them when when we're here, when we're in the football realm. But when we go home, you know, it's father son. If we go to a football game on Saturday, that's dad and son. It's not, you know, player and coach. Um, and I just try to, you know, like I said, not, you know, we watch film when we get home. We watch film. You know, we got times where we get together at home and watch film at night. You know, things of that nature just to make sure that he's prepared. Um, because these guys have to watch film. They all have a huddle account. They all have access to the teams that we're playing, all that stuff. And as a coach, I can go on huddle and I can see who's watching film and who's not watching film. Um, so you know, just I don't want to go.
I'm glad
I
he
don't want
put
to
that.
go
I'm glad he put that
veer
out
off
there.
on that
Yeah.
track. But
So to
you
them
know, when
kids
you
that
have
lied,
parents, who are so judgmental and say all these different things, well, come to practice. Or how much film has he watched this week? You know, he's not prepared because he ain't watched, you know, But that's another topic, another subject. But just to separate the father and the coach part of it, I like I said, I don't put no whole lot of pressure on him. I just kind of let him navigate and let him kind of figure things out. Like I said, we watch film, we talk football. Don't get me wrong. We have conversations and we talk about this and that and that. But I'm a father first before I'm a football coach, and that's one thing that I want him to understand is that I'm on. If you got something you want to talk to me about, let's talk about it. I'm your father before I'm your football coach. So that's kind of how I handle it.
So when your players graduate and football is over, what do you hope they remember most about being coached by you?
Just what kind of person I am. Somebody that you know they had a relationship with, that they understand and that understands them. Um, like I said, I just try to teach them how to be men. I tell them all the time, it's bigger than football with me. Um, I want to see you be successful. Like I said, husbands, fathers, all those types of things. Just an example. This kid that I coached at Lafayette, he was a JV guy. Never got to play. Was probably into something all the time. Just all the time. I built a relationship with that kid. 4 years later, he still calls me. We talk. He's a youth minister now. Just did a complete 360, and just to be able to experience him when he was the biggest clown at Lafayette High School, to continue to communicate with him even after I left Lafayette, and just to see his life change in the last 3 or 4 years. That's the kind of stuff that's why I love coaching, is because, to have kids come back 10, 15 years later and say, man, coach, I remember that day. You remember that day when we was at practice and so said this and so said that. And man, we had this, that, all that kind of stuff it makes you feel good, as a coach and as a man, because you put something, or they've took something that you've, talked to them or said something to them, and they remember that stuff, and they're able to apply that stuff to their lives, and to be able to, come back and just say thank you, man. I remember, coach, we had that talk, and you said this and that, and I didn't understand it then, but man, I see it now, man. That kind of stuff right there is satisfying to me. Way bigger than wins and losses. Just to be able to touch their lives in a positive way, and for them to come back and appreciate it, that does a lot to me.
That's what I appreciate about it. When
Well,
we go to Ashland, just seeing all how your kids react to you, I'll be like, yeah, she did the right thing.
Yeah.
She made an imprint on their life.
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's what it's all about.
Mhm.
Like, people always, wins and losses and championships and all that kind of stuff. That's important. It is important because it's a competitive sport. But, just to be able to touch and change lives, man, and to see kids, like, kids got baptized this year. I went to the baptism, and just to see their faces when I showed up for them, when they got baptized, like, that's the kind of stuff those are kind of prints that I want to leave, on the kids that I coach. That's the kind of stuff that I want to leave, with them.
and I'll say that you successfully done that your whole career, not just currently as head coach. I'll say that, I'll give you flowers and say that I feel like sometimes if I wouldn't have been able to look over at you during moments or things like that, that um, maybe things would have been, different, or I wouldn't have had the better outcome. I know that we both know I'm a hothead, and you've always been just like a chill, level-headed dude. And I know that there's been several games where I just found solace in the fact of looking over and having that so that's flowers to say that um you are an amazing man and coach, most
I
definitely,
appreciate
for
that.
sure.
And I appreciate you saying that. Um, because I can remember times, whenever I was coaching y'all and and things didn't go, you know, well a lot of times. And I could just remember sometimes I would just give you a look and just be like, you know, that's enough. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't never been a rah-rah, kind of guy. You know, I feel like if I can say something to you in a normal tone, I can get my point across to you just as well as somebody screaming and yelling at you, and I appreciate you saying that because, sometimes, I mean, that's just what it's about, and that's what just kind of goes back to what I talked about a few minutes ago. It's just not always about wins and losses. It's about being there and, being somebody that, that a player can come to and look to and get a calming presence when things are going, you know, kind of, tough sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't have you in high school, but I remember with Coach Miller, man, he gave me a look one day. I was like, okay, I got you. Like,
Yeah.
let me chill out. He gave me a look.
Yeah, like people don't understand. Like, that's why we rooted so hard for you to be a head coach, is because if you can have the impact you had as an assistant, we just couldn't imagine
Right.
having your hands on a program. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm just super happy that you got that opportunity, and it's well deserved for
I'm
real.
excited and don't think I'm changing.
Yeah,
I'm still the same way. I'm just in an overall position, but it's the same. The message still the same. It ain't changing just because I'm the head coach. I'm still who I was when I was an assistant coach. And I want to continue to touch lives the same way that I did when I was an assistant coach, so just a broader spectrum, I guess you can say, but I just think now that it could be more that I could touch. I think I got a better situation to touch more people now than I did as an assistant coach, and that's just God's way of doing stuff, man. I don't take no credit for it. Just being who I am is just, kind of what, where I am, and I'm thankful and I'm grateful. Just to hear you say that, it means a lot
yeah, man. Like,
to hear you say that. And that's why I talked about earlier about character. Like, I didn't do that for you to pat me on my back or say what you said. I just did it because it's the right thing to do, and that just goes back to the character part. And that's why I try to teach the kids, now just be a good person. That's the first thing. Just be a good person, man, and good things are happening. And I've tried to be the best that I could be at everything that I could, and it's just a blessing.
for sure. And so, Rico, before we get out of here, your first talk, your talk, it was beautiful. It was head coachy, it was professional and all that good stuff, and I love that. Now, in this second one, I want you to act like behind you, your name is on there. It say Rico is the man.
Still
And
man.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you got the helmets and the hardware that you done earned on this next one. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So you going to make sure you give yourself your flowers. So Coach Rico McDonald, this is your opportunity to talk your talk.
Please don't be humble.
That's just me though.
I know.
That's just me.
Just don't be yourself for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That's all we need.
I don't know, man. Football is taking me to some places that I would never ever imagine going. From high school to college, to a national championship, to a Hall of Fame induction, to a head football coach, in between, in all of that, a father, a husband, a family man, all of that stuff, man. And like I said, I don't know how to do it that way. That's just me, but
Hey, I was finna tell you,
it worked.
if you know Rico,
I know.
to tell you that right there.
Yeah, that's
God's been good. That's all I can say.
Yeah, man.
I just been blessed to just go someplace to see some things, be a part of some people, and and I give credit to God, but to my family for always instilling that, being a good person, and everything else to take care of itself. And I just hope that, you know, along this journey, the rest of the way, um, that I'm able to do a lot more than what I've done. And I don't think that, it's just getting started. Um, there's I believe it and I know, um, that it's some big things coming for, not me, but for Ripley football, these kids, this community, this school. Um, be patient, be patient. But I know that I'm not bragging or boasting, but I tell the kids all the time, all of this is purposeful. All of this happened for a reason, and I believe that it's something big coming for Ripley football, and I'm just thankful to be a part of it and to be out in front of it. And Ripley Tiger fans, just be ready, be ready, be ready, because it's coming. It's coming. So that's all I can say.
We'll take that.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm finna
Yeah.
go to CVS and go get my gear.
I hear you. I hear you.
But man, Rico, we really do appreciate you for coming on. We appreciate you for what you've done for the community. We appreciate you for what you've done for us personally and individually. And what you gonna do in the future for plenty of more kids in this community, man. And we with you, man. Keep going. We right behind you, beside you, or all around you, man, for sure.
Appreciate y'all having me again. And like I said, man, again, thank y'all for what y'all doing. Jumping into this realm and helping people. Because this is therapy too.
Mhm.
And sometimes we need to sit down and talk and learn a lot that we didn't know about each other. And I appreciate y'all for doing this, and I tell y'all to keep doing what y'all doing.
Sure, appreciate
Keep
it.
going further and further. It's gonna be a bigger room for y'all one day, with this. So y'all just keep going and stay focused and keep it going, man.
Before you wrap
Thank
up,
you.
before you wrap up,
What's up? What's up?
you didn't give him to me directly, but my cousin Tony, you played a big part in his life, and he played a big part in mine. So I appreciate what you did for him. So,
Yeah. Tony spoke
Appreciate
highly
that.
too,
He
for
spoke
sure.
very highly
For
of
sure.
you.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's another guy that he was early in my career as far as coaching, and then we worked together later on in my career as assistants, and he's somebody that I talk to about every other night. We talk, so we still got that connection, not only from colleagues, but from player and coach. And that's kind of what I talked about earlier. Like, that was 20 years ago, and we still got that connection, and it started, when I first started coaching football. So that's big.
I see you going double Hall of Fame for football, and then Hall of Fame for coaching. Cause man, you are that guy, and you are walking in your purpose for sure.
Hall of Fame
Appreciate it.
person.
Yeah,
man.
Hall of Fame person for sure, man.
Appreciate it.
Like I said, man, we appreciate you. Y'all keep watching. Y'all keep tuning in. We love highlighting and giving flowers to definitely the people within our community, and for me specifically, the Ripley community. I really do enjoy that. So just y'all keep rocking. We got a bunch of stuff coming for y'all. Again, this is that podcast, Hoops and Headspace, where we intersect that sports aspect with that mental health aspect. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't with the mic. But, anyway, this is Hoops and Headspace. I'm your host, Jada Rich.
I'm your co-host, Tae.
And we've had the Hall of Famer.
Rico McDonald.
Correct. Rico is the man. I hope somewhere in one of these cameras I can zoom in on that. I'm going to take a picture. We right there. Boom. There it is.